Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions. And I'm your host today, Chris Santomassimo, on site in Kearney, New Jersey. I'm sitting here today with Ed Russnow, who's the president of Mac Products. Well, welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure to be here. Happy for you coming in and seeing our facility and seeing what we do.
I was excited to learn about the company, and as we talked about when we first got together, I really love to see these successful multi-generational products companies like yours, doing, and you'll talk about it in more detail, but these really customized special products right in our backyard here in New Jersey and right here in the United States, most importantly. So we love spending time with companies like yours to tell people who you are. And over 60 years of business, maybe you've got, and I know you've got quite the network of folks, but it never hurts to just get a little fresh air and a little bit of light shining on the company. So tell us a little bit about the history of Mac and what you folks do for your customers.
Great. Well, Chris, again, thanks for being here. As you noted, the company Mac Products has been in business under current ownership for 60 years. This is actually our 60th anniversary this year. My father-in-law started the business, bought it out of bankruptcy from a company that had been in business for about 20 years prior to that and had been manufacturing in, I believe it was Hoboken. That was a company that was making compression lugs and connectors, which are used to terminate cables, specifically for the electrical utility market. Mostly at the time, I think it was Con Edison, which of course is the big utility across the river here in New York. Then over time, as the business got more successful, he was able to branch out into other parts of the electrical infrastructure market. We got opportunities with mass transit here in the metropolitan area, New York City Transit being probably our first go at it in the electrified mass transit business. And then as we got more successful and had more opportunities within Con Edison and PSE&G here in New Jersey, our product line just kept growing. One of the things about the company is that we don't back away from challenges. A customer comes to us and says, hey, you manufacture this product for us now. Would you be interested in looking at this other product where we feel it is still within your wheelhouse of capability?
But your wheelhouse grew over time as well. Right?
Correct. And as we ventured and tried other things, yes, some didn't work, but for the most part, a lot of them did. And that allowed us to try new things. It allowed us to go from a catalog business where people would just order a part number, order what we call splice kit, order a lug, order a connector, to become more of an engineering manufactured solutions-based business. When I first started at the company 35 years ago, 80% of our products that we sold were out of a catalog. Again, we had 5 or 6 different catalogs. Customers would call, they would place orders, we would have yearly contracts with them, and they would just order as needed. And then we recognized that we needed to maybe make a change and needed to start being able to offer our customers higher level service, more value add solutions, and we started hiring engineers, mechanicals and electricals. And that just really snowballed into now we have about 14 engineers here on staff, PEs, professional engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, and programmers as well. So the company has really changed dramatically since the time I started. And I'm second generation in the business. And then we have a third generation here in the business, which is my son and my son-in-law, actually, who just recently joined the business. So I've got my father-in-law who's still here after 60 years. He's here every day. Myself, my son, and my son-in-law. Besides the other 120 people that we have working here.
Well, the description of this value-add business that you've developed, really, it hits home with the trademark that you told me about. What's your trademark?
Correct. So a few years ago, we were in a meeting, on a Teams meeting, and at the time, our sales manager made a comment, just an offhanded comment where he said, "Yeah, we just don't do easy around here." And it stuck in my head. And while he was saying that, I said, "You're right. We don't do easy." And it wasn't a negative connotation. It was a positive connotation, meaning that customers don't come to us when it's easy for them to solve by Googling something. Right? They come to us because they have a pain that they need to solve. Mm-hmm. So we don't do easy is the reflection of the commitment that the staff has here, that we will go above and beyond what we have to do for our customers to solve the pain that they have. And when this gentleman made the comment, I immediately said to him, I said, "Okay, we're trademarking that." And
sure enough,
that's what we did.
That's great.
Yeah. So that was the outcropping of just a initial conversation about him making a little bit of a joke that really turned into, this is what we do. This is what we stand for.
That's who you are.
It's what our business is.
Maybe the next one should be, we do pain relief. Right? We take your hard stuff and we relieve the pain.
That's correct.
Right.
That's part of doing business with people, right? Is we recognize that you have an issue that you need solved. We want to be the ones to solve that for you, whatever it takes. We want to put our best foot forward. We want to listen to what you have to say, so that we can understand what's really driving the problems that you as the customer might be having.
Right. Well, it's a solutions-based business after all, right?
That's correct. That's the other thing that we say to our customers, is that we're a solutions-based manufacturer. We're not just a manufacturer of electromechanical products for electrical infrastructure. We are a solutions-based manufacturer because we have many talented engineers, many talented craftsmen on our shop floor. We don't have to solve the solution with engineers all the time. Our shop people are plenty capable of solving problems for our customers. So it's really a combination of having very strong engineering capabilities and having very strong machining and manufacturing people in the shop.
Well, both of those categories of employees historically, or at least in the recent history, have been really hard to find. So how do you find them, and how do you keep them, and how do you get them to work together effectively?
Yeah, that's a great question, because certainly being in the state of New Jersey, it's not easy to be a manufacturer. We've been very fortunate over the years that the majority of our staff are first or second generation immigrants. This is an amazing area of an immigrant population. We have 7 first languages that are spoken at this company. And it was interesting. A gentleman who's no longer employed here made a comment to me during COVID. We got into a discussion about capabilities. And he made a comment to me in a fit of anger that I don't realize that some people here are illiterate. And he didn't mean illiterate that in the true sense of illiterate. Because they didn't speak English as their first language, they couldn't read the notes on a drawing. Numbers are universal. Everybody understands numbers. So when they're looking at something, they know how to measure, and they know where they have to put the holes and everything else. But when they have to read the notes, they didn't understand.
Interesting.
So
was that an eye-opener?
It was an eye-opener.
Yeah.
So we went ahead through the help of the NJMEP, the New Jersey Manufacturers Extension Program, to bring somebody in to do English as a second language classes for these 7 languages. And so it helped us tremendously there. It made me take a step back, and this is, I don't have all the answers, right? As the leader of the company, I don't have all the answers. I expect the staff to be able to make recommendations to me on things that I might not be seeing. Not that I have blinders on, but I've got so many other things going on, and when we think, well, what's causing this issue? Recognizing that we have 17 lines of instructions on a drawing, and it's in English, and this gentleman's primary language is Polish or it's Spanish. And hey, I'm an immigrant. I've been working here for 5 years, and English was not what I was taught in school. They're not dummies. They're smart because they could do the work, but they just don't understand. And they didn't correct
the cultures,
and they didn't raise their hand,
right,
to say, "Hey, I need help." Well, maybe that's on us, right, to recognize. And
it's one of the most difficult things for employees to do sometimes, I think.
It is, and it also taught us that now prerequisite when we hire somebody is they need to take certain types of aptitude tests. Mm-hmm. So we know if they're valuable and we want to hire them, well, we have to find a way to help them as well. That's very, very important. So we've been very fortunate in the area that we're in. We can pull from Newark, obviously, which has a huge immigrant population, Jersey City, and all the other surrounding areas here in Hudson County and in Essex. We even have people who still come to work for us who live in Brooklyn.
Wow.
There's a big Haitian population that we pull from in Brooklyn who were first generation immigrants during the flotilla back in the 1980s. And we have some interesting stories around that, and how the culture of this company was built really on immigrants, just because of where we are. So challenges going forward for us will be, are there going to be those immigrants, first generation, coming in, who need the types of jobs that are entry level, let's say, so that they can gain a foothold here in the U.S. and build lives for their families. We offer a good job, good pay, competitive pay. We're a union shop here in New Jersey. So all the things that you hear that are positive, we have going for us. But we just hope that there's going to be that continued population to pull from.
Yeah, the union dynamic is interesting because years ago it was the union was the organization that would bring additional people to your place when you needed them, and that dynamic has changed quite a bit. Yeah.
Given that we're a manufacturer, we're part of the IBEW. A big focus of theirs, obviously, is on the installation side, meaning the electrical contractors actually doing the installations, high-rise construction in New York, New Jersey, wherever it is, right? The manufacturing portion is smaller than, at least in this area. So, for the most part, we're the employer of record. I believe with the installation side or the electrical contractor side, those people really work for the union. And then the electrical contractors go out and hire them from the union. We don't do that because they're not trained to be manufacturers. They're trained to be electricians in their training when they go through the apprenticeship program and everything else. So it's a totally different dynamic. So we're the ones as a manufacturer, as I'm sure with other manufacturers that are members of IBEW, we create our own program for our staff,
right,
to grow. And again, they come in at entry level if they don't have a skill set. But if they do have a skill set, then obviously we're putting them in a different a different part of the shop, whether they're CNC operators, welders, wiremen, higher skilled people. Mm-hmm. So we have a mix here at the company, and we're always going to have that mix because that's what we do.
But I think it's smart how you've really you've addressed what was probably a production issue with looking at holistically and creating this very foundational program for ESL for your employees, and hopefully that empowers them to grow within the company and maybe move around, get trained on other things, etc.
So, an observation I had a few years ago in the shop, I was walking through the shop one day and I saw one of our CNC people standing at a machine. And I just stopped and observed. And I saw what that person was doing, and all they were doing was loading and unloading the machine. And I thought to myself, well, that's not real value add. That's not what a human really wants to be doing. What can we do to upskill that person so they could add more value to the business and therefore more value to themselves, where they could put more money in their pockets and we could increase their wage? So that was around the time where cobots were just really starting to get hot, and we realized, okay, let's make the investment. Let's add some automation. Let's get these people out from just standing at a machine all day, where, again, it adds no value, and they don't grow. So we started making investments into more ways to automate, giving people an opportunity to run multiple machines. So if a person can run more than one machine at a time, and we're not adding staff, they're adding more value into the business, and therefore they can earn more money.
Right.
So that's really been our focus the last number of years, is trying to figure out how we can either maintain the current workforce that we have without overburdening ourselves with people. If the company grows and grows exponentially, then of course we'll continue to add. But if we could add more technology into the things that we do, which will allow our staff then to do more, then it's a win-win for both the employee and the company. Because what should happen is, if we make the right investments and we do it the right way, the profitability should grow, our margin should grow, and therefore we can then go and say, okay, we want to reward the people who deserve to be rewarded.
Right. Yeah, because they're doing 2 and 3 people's former jobs, right?
Correct.
Right.
That's correct.
But I also think that it's helpful because you're taking some of that boredom out of the job. And that's what I think, especially in a production environment, that frustrates employees, causes them to be disenchanted about the company, and all of the negative things that you want to avoid.
Interesting comment, because also one of my things that I've tried to get across to the staff, the leadership team here, is the bigger mix of product that we have, that makes it more interesting for the staff. We don't do the same thing day after day after day. We don't compete with companies that are making 100,000 of a product. That's just not who we are. We can't compete with Mexico, even with the tariffs. We certainly can't compete with China. And we're not looking to do that. That's not who this company is. That's why I said to you before, we're solutions-based manufacturer. When the staff sees all these new things that are happening, or all these different things that every day is different, to your point, they don't get bored. They see what we're doing, and they also see that we're trying to eliminate that boredom portion of it with automation.
Right.
Where in the past they'd be like, oh my God, I have to do this again? I have to do this again? Now it's, okay, wow, what's the next new thing that the company's going to bring here? Mm-hmm. What else is the sales team looking at? What is the engineering group looking to design as a new product for us? And for me, and what I try to get across to the staff all the time, is that's what's exciting. Like every day you come to work possibly with something new to learn or new to do. Or you don't even know what tomorrow will bring. As long as you've built the foundation for the company, those challenges or those new things, we should be able to handle them and not have many issues.
Well, there's some positive anticipation about Monday morning, right? Or the rest of the week as well. But, maybe I'm going to be surprised, or maybe we're going to do something totally different. It kind of gets the juices going a little bit, even for the person running the machines.
Correct.
But I also think that, especially in a manufacturing environment, people that are on the shop floor sometimes fear automation because they think they're going to be outmoded and lose their jobs. But if you're able to retain them and redeploy, that's really the recipe for success.
Yeah, in the past 2 years, we've made some big investments into the shop. A lot of new equipment, new software, new people, even. As we've had to take our skill set up, we've had to search for higher skilled people. And as we do that, and we continue to invest in new equipment, when a new piece of equipment shows up here, everybody wants to know, everybody wants to be the one to operate that new piece of equipment. And I think it's a friendly competition amongst the staff. Mm-hmm. That there is a badge of honor about saying, well, I'm the one who got that machine all set up. I'm the one who got the first parts off that machine. And we, as a company, have to also make sure we recognize that and that we give them that recognition. Give them a good congratulations, pat on the back, whatever it is. Hey, here's a gift card for doing that. Whatever we can do to help them and make that recognition goes a long way. And when they see us continually investing in the business, it's got to give them a very good feel for what we're trying to accomplish here in the state of New Jersey.
Yeah, but you're paving the future, right? And you're doing it right here at home, which I like. We're not talking about moving down south or out to the Midwest. We're doing it right here in New Jersey, which is great.
Right.
And that healthy competition is a positive thing. It's all just like anything. It's all about how you allow it to mature. And if that little bit of rah competition, almost like a sport, is happening on the floor, then you're obviously doing something right.
Yeah, we recently invested in a new piece of technology that will, by the end of this year, completely replace 2 old pieces of mechanical equipment that we had going back probably since I started working here, maybe even before that. And I had a conversation with the shop floor manager, and I said, look, we can't be using those anymore because we just invested over $500,000 in that equipment, and we have to start seeing the return on the investment. And he said to me, the 2 guys that we have trained on this, they went to class, we sent them out for training, they have a direct line to their trainer if they have an issue. But these are people who were running other pieces of equipment who we said, look, we want you to be able to do this. This will obviously give you more visibility within the company for what the company is trying to do, and then allow you to grow. And these 2 gentlemen they're pretty close as far as working together. They have a friendly competition with each other. But they will be extremely excited when the 2 old pieces of equipment leave here and they're just working on this current, most modern piece of equipment that we have. And it's going to change the way we do business here and allow us to be much more effective for our customers. And that's really what it's all about.
Right. And does are you able to collect data from the equipment, these newer pieces of equipment, and sort of analyze how productive you're being?
Yeah. So twice a month, our CNC manager presents to the leadership team the utilization of that equipment. So we're able to see how we're trending versus best practices in industry versus where we were prior month and what our goal should be. So we've just started that the last 3 months. And the trend is pretty positive. One of the things that we did with automation was, because of the use of bar feeders or cobots, co-working robot, we pick up time running the equipment lights out. So that's a big focus for us too going forward. Because if you can only work your staff so many hours until you start seeing a dwindling return, because people just can't work 24 hours around the clock, but the machines can.
Right.
So we could pick up, obviously, double the amount of production for working an 8-hour shift, and we can load the machine for overnight. We now have picked up more than double the amount of work and get it done in a third less time. So that's key, again, for us as we move forward. It's stuff that we hadn't thought about even in the past. Like, okay, let the machines run by themselves.
Right.
What does that cost to do? It's nothing.
Right.
And it's just energy.
Right. Which you would spend anyway.
Which you're spending anyway.
Yep.
That's correct. But that's been a major game changer for us. And that's because of the quality of the people that we have who can handle and program and get all this equipment up and running for us. So that's been a huge game changer for our business.
Hopefully that's a help on your lifestyle, on the lifestyle issues that you see in the manufacturing environment. Years ago I used to think in my misguided head that people would want to maximize how much overtime they could get, which is true to some extent.
It is.
But you see that people hit a wall at some point, and there's, to your point about diminishing returns afterwards.
Right.
People don't want to work 7 days a week for months and weeks at a time, right?
We did that back in the day, right?
Because you had to.
Because we had to, right? You didn't have the automation capabilities that you have now. It was more of grind it out. You throw more people at it, you get more accomplished. And there were times back in the mid-'90s, all the way through the dot-com days, where we were working 7 days a week. And in some respects, 12 hours, 5 days a week, and then 5 hours on a Saturday and maybe 5 hours on a Sunday. And you could tell that it was just not sustainable.
Yeah.
But we had to take advantage of what we could take advantage of at the time. Obviously, you look back on it, it was the right decision at the time, and the staff wanted it. Because, believe me, as I said to you earlier, with a major immigrant population, they were workers. And they just said, give me more, give me more, give me more. I don't care. I'll work as many hours as you want to give me, I will work. That's shifted.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the way it is anymore. This generation that comes in, they understand what they need to do. They understand they want to earn more money and what they need to do to earn more money. But I don't think they're going to say, yeah, give me Saturdays and Sundays to work. But fortunately, we haven't had to do that.
Well, you've invested in other areas rather than working your people too hard.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Now, we still need the results, and everybody recognizes that. And we want the results to be correct the first time. The old mantra of measure twice, cut once. It pains anybody, whether you're a business owner or manager or what have you, that you have to pay overtime to somebody because they made a mistake and they have to fix the mistake. right? So it's costing us more than 2.5 times what it should be, and then you have the opportunity cost of not being able to ship the stuff that you had in your schedule. So we have a mantra here. I don't know if it's on the board here, but the manufacturing manager has something that he tells everybody: first time right. Like, that's our goal all the time. Get it right the first time so we don't have to do it again, because then it's costing us just a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, it strips all the margin out of your product.
Correct.
But translating that into what drives people on a production floor sometimes is difficult, right? Mm-hmm. Because they may not necessarily appreciate the bigger picture. So mantras like what you're talking about, first time right and we don't do easy, are in my mind helpful for that translation from what happens in the management suite to what happens on the floor.
Yeah. So about 7 or 8 months ago, I did my first company-wide town hall, we'll call it. And I had everybody out in the shop floor, and I wanted to explain to them certain things that drive the business that had never been shared with them before. I kind of recognized that some of the stuff that I was sharing with my leadership team wasn't necessarily getting drilled down to everybody else. Mm-hmm. And I polled some people and I asked questions, and I found out that there were certain things that I take for granted that I think everybody understands. The concept of cash flow. Most people, unfortunately, didn't understand what cash flow means. Mm-hmm. I have a sign hanging up in my office that says revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, cash flow is reality. Mm. As a SMB, a small to medium-sized business, we live off of cash flow. We have no debt. We don't finance anything. We do it through our cash flow. And I asked the question to a group of people one day. I said, hey, would you rather have $100,000 in cash under your mattress, or would you rather have it in an high interest-bearing account, earning, let's say, 5.5%? They all looked at me like I was crazy. I said, do you really want an answer to that question? I said, yeah, I do. I want to know. What would you rather do? I'd rather have it in a high interest bearing account. I said, okay. Do you think, as a company, we want our cash sitting in inventory and overbuying things and overproducing things? Because that's the same thing as you taking that money and shoving it under your mattress and it not earning anything for you.
Right.
And a light bulb went off in everybody's head, and they said, oh, I just always wanted to buy stuff and bring it in, just get it in and just get it in. Somebody's got to pay for that. Right. And then when we produce it or we ship it, then we got to wait till we get paid back from the customer, and sometimes that could be a year if it's stuff sitting on the shelf. So we've got to start thinking more strategically when it comes to the things that we do. Because at the end of the day, we all get paid from the success of this business. Yeah. All of us.
From the cash flow.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Right? Frankly, I don't make any money if the company doesn't.
Right.
Right? And I want everybody to grow, but we've got to do it the right way. So there's so many things that, and I kind of attribute a lot of this to COVID in a positive way. That we learned so much about ourselves during that time period. So many of the things that we do right, things that we do wrong, and how we can fix them and make ourselves better. And it really opened up a lot of new things for us as a business.
Well, the negative of COVID for some companies was this sort of hoarding, because they were worried about being able to get raw materials, right? And sometimes they couldn't give up that habit afterwards. Mm-hmm. We see what happened to a number of those companies. Right?
Yeah. It's
tough.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, I don't mean to cut us off in the middle, because what we should do is probably have another episode talking about all the cool projects that you've done. But this really has been a good, I don't know, just a good look-see at Mac, but also really hearing some of your philosophies that have really been terrifically, successful, created a successful company and a really engaged workforce.
Yeah, look, our goal is to be here 60 more years, if not more. That's why I'm working on strengthening this next tranche of leadership within the company, both from a standpoint of myself, my son, my son-in-law, and the other leaders within this company. I learned something when I first started working here that my father-in-law taught me, and it was, we do not live off of our business. We recognize that through the 120 or so employees that we have, maybe 500 people are eating and being clothed off of what we do. So the decisions we make as a business and as a family-owned company just don't affect our family. It affects every family that has people here. So we're very conservative in making those decisions. Again, as a family, we do not live off this business. And I will say that I know that Mac is a good company to work for because our family is not the only multi-generational family here. Fathers would not recommend their sons or daughters to come work here, or their brothers or their cousins or their nephews to come work here if it wasn't a good place
Absolutely.
To work. So that gives me a lot of pride about what we've done and how my father-in-law started the business and his philosophies that have been drilled down to me, and how I drilled them down to my son and to my son-in-law and everybody else that works here.
Well, you can't get much of a better stamp of approval than that, right?
Right.
For sure.
Right.
Well, Ed, this has been terrific. I'd love to just sum up by telling folks where they can reach you, where they can check out the company and the products.
Well, certainly we're on the internet at www.macproducts.net. And social media, we're very active on LinkedIn. So if you search us under Mac, M-A-C Products, you'll see what we do. And really appreciate you coming in here, Chris, and meeting with us. And very excited for the future state of Mac and manufacturing here in New Jersey.
Fantastic. Let's absolutely do another episode to focus on that as well.
That'd be great.
As some of the really cool projects that you've done.
Okay.
Well,
excellent.
Thanks again, Ed. This has been Ed Russnow, the president of Mac Products here in Kearney, New Jersey. And I'm Chris Santomassimo from the Think Factory podcast. We'll see you next time.